Welcome back to the 18th group exhibit Hydrogen Fuel Cells at Hanover Fair 2012. And indeed, let me say it again for good measure, we will now be joined by Marieke Reijalt, who is the Executive Director of the European Hydrogen Association. And we will be discussing local projects using hydrogen in energy storage at HyER, HYER. So please, give it up for Marieke Reijalt. Welcome. So, welcome again. It's an honor to be here with you, and I am curious to find out a little bit more about the organization called HyER. What does it do? How did it evolve into this broader electromobility coverage?
Yes, well, I think, of course, we use as a phrase now that we are aiming higher, like most of us here. I, first of all, want to thank you for allowing us to say a few words on the developments, but I also want to take the opportunity to make my compliments to all the colleagues here, because I think the buzz and also the demonstration of indeed aiming higher with hydrogen and fuel cell deployment is definitely very visible this year. And yeah, we have been joining your exhibition for quite some time, so I really think that this has for us been another positive year here in Hanover. Well, HyER, as said, it's an organization, a partnership of regions in Europe, around 30 regions in Europe. We started with 9 about 3-4 years ago, when programs also in the EU were allowing a lot more demonstration and deployment activities. And as we stand right now, regions are supporting, co-financing a lot of these demonstration projects. So actually, together with the European Commission, we discussed the setup of such an association of regions that would really like to contribute actively in promoting, but also monitoring the impact of hydrogen and fuel cell applications. Well, last year, the Commission invited us to broaden our activities to the full range of electric mobility, because I think most of us here have to explain a lot to people that indeed fuel cells are electric systems as well. They are powered by the other energy carrier, hydrogen. We have electricity as a carrier, we have hydrogen as a carrier, and as fuel cells are electric systems too, especially in transport, the first experiences with pilots, with demo projects, with battery electric vehicles, with fuel cell electric vehicles are co-financed a lot of times by the same people that make decisions on either a car sharing project with battery electric vehicles or a fuel cell bus project. So that's why we decided last year together with our members to broaden this perspective, and we became from HyRamp the HyER organization.
And could you give a little more detail on the projects that you actually run? What types of projects are they? What should we know about them?
Yeah, I think with HyER we mainly try to connect the dots that we have now with all the experiences over the last years with hydrogen and fuel cell in different demonstration projects, because indeed we are still in the phase of projects, and where our regions and also our industries involved in these regions want to go to is more a program approach. A program approach politically, with longer term political commitment to these technologies, but also finance programs. So indeed, our activities concentrate on collecting experiences of these different projects, see how the impact of using those applications are in real life. So we are participating actively as a dissemination partner in, for example, the fuel cell bus projects in Europe. We have been joining all the current fuel cell bus projects, and if you come to our stand as well, we have information on the big Chic project, the Clean Hydrogen in European Cities project, that is now looking at running buses in daily operations, 8-10 hours a day. Fuel cell buses are running in London. They are running in Switzerland, in the Zurich area. They will be running in Milan. They are running in Hamburg, of course, Cologne. We have seen the bus of Cologne here as well. And we are connecting in this project also with the experiences in other parts of the world. The Vancouver and Whistler experiences of the last Winter Games are connected to these activities as well. So we monitor how this all functions. What are the issues? How are the people dealing on a daily basis with these buses, the drivers, the technicians that they use, and we see a lot of aspects that are improving fast, the cost of these vehicles, and that is also one part that our regions contribute to. The joint procurement, or at least the coordinated procurement of these vehicles, bring down the cost at this phase pretty significantly and pretty impressively as well, I must say. So that is the first big action, of course, the collecting of experiences.
Are there already some questions from the audience at all? As always, don't be shy. We want you to participate, so if you do have a question, just a simple hand sign will suffice, and I'll come to you.
I have a question concerning the objective of the HyER project. For me, it seems fairly nebulous, because you are coming to existing programs, you are collecting data, and what does it bring?
Exactly. Well, that was only my first activity that I mentioned. So we are connecting the different aspects of a process of concretely deploying those technologies in real life. So collecting the first experiences, collecting what impact do they have on local transport systems, on local energy systems, brings us to a better policy making at regional level. Because we can all believe any company that comes to us and says, well, you should deploy this kind of technology because it reduces CO2, and it has all the buzzwords to start supporting those new solutions. But we have to see on larger scale how this is impacting our communities, basically. So on the basis of the monitoring and the data collection, we develop, as we called, more fact-based policies. And as we have just a few years so far of real-life experiences with more or less commercial systems, this is still an ongoing and a necessary process. So that is a big part of our activities right now. We are developing with the Commission an observatory for electric mobility as we speak. We have started a pilot about 2 months ago with 6 regions that are collecting the data in a more structured way together to come to some conclusions already on how a broader observatory could look like. And then the second step that is already in progress since we started is the collaboration with policymakers at EU level. Because not all programs, although we have great programs, also the demonstration here at the HANNOVER Fair this year of the joint undertaking for fuel cells and hydrogen, are great examples of EU programs that are really responding to the needs of industry to come to commercial projects. But these are not the only ones. We just submitted a proposal with our regions and with the support of 4 member states on the first infrastructure strategic planning along the TEN-T corridors. The Trans-European Network for Transport program is a €1 trillion program for all kinds of transport, rail and road and maritime. Hydrogen is not in there. Only now, in the development of the new guidelines for this EU program, alternative fuels are considered as a necessary activity for road. But then again, We have an instrument for the next 7 years, the Connecting Europe facility, that should finance these type of programs, that is not really referring to where the budget should come from for these alternative fuels. So also here, HyER has to constantly monitor the programs that the EU is developing with all the good objectives and the 2020 goals, but that are not necessarily responding to the needs of this community, the hydrogen industry, but also the users, of which the HyER partnership, of course, is one of the voices. We are the users, our citizens are the users in the end of these technologies. And then quickly, of course, the third activity that is the most interesting, I think, also for our prospective members, is that we show them where to go if they have a clear idea of where such applications could fit, and also if they have not, we try to guide them to the right programs and the right funding and the right possibilities, calls, but also consortia with other regions.
Perhaps taking my lead from the last question there, do you have overarching success criteria for the projects? And if so, what are they? How do you monitor that at the European level?
Well, at the moment, I think because HyER is indeed really the only association of regions that are active in this field, and also in the field of battery electric and recharging systems, we see a lot of interest, of course, of regions and cities, but there are not many real operational partnerships that look at all the ins and outs of implementing these technologies. So indeed, we are approached by quite a few projects and consortia of becoming a dissemination partner of the results. And we do need, at this very moment, criteria of where we go and where not. It's, of course, very tempting of being linked to all initiatives that are popping up. In order to get a clear idea of what works and what's not. But yeah, I think we look mostly on also the spread of the different projects among the regions. It's still also in the bigger EU programs, mostly the old member states, as we call it, of the EU are involved. Of course, we see increasingly also research institute of the new member states, but the deployment and also the strategic planning is still around, of course, the centers where also the automotive companies are putting their interest and have their technical support and also their economic reasons of first customers for these cars that determine the strategic planning. But if we are really convinced that this will be a technology for all, we need to start to look at how this can be implemented in the first programs, I would say, even in new member states for cleaner transport and cleaner energy.
Great. Very, very quickly on education, because that's hardly come up here this week in the panels, and you do run some educational initiatives that I believe originate in the European Hydrogen Association and then are translated into HyER. Can you just say a couple of sentences about those?
Yeah, well, of course, the collaboration with the European Hydrogen Association and HyER is quite close. The European Hydrogen Association hosts the office of HyER in Brussels, and, well, I think our main work on a daily basis is education, and it's always the last topic that people talk about in all the requirements for implementing this technology. But indeed, education of public authorities, of authorization officials, of the first technicians, engaging younger people in this area, in new career opportunities, but also showing them how it could look like, new ideas. That is part of our activity. We support the dissemination of projects like curriculums that are being developed for technicians. That is led by one of our regions, Aragon, who is very active also in renewable and hydrogen links. Then we have a curriculum for authorization officials, a European curriculum that we develop with the EHA and TÜV Nord and industry partners. And then again, the general education of all stakeholders in different events is a constant activity. Yeah.
And finally, let's bring it down to earth for people like you and I. What can the average EU citizen do today to help bring this forward? Is it even worth asking anything of the consumer, or is all of this really rather up to the expert at this point, like yourself and your organization?
Well, I think indeed. I think it's up to the regional authorities, organizations like ourselves and industry to really get together on further strategic ideas on deployment and where and how and with what kind of support, and engage the EU in this. Because I think at this stage where technologies are still expensive, where budgets are tight, what do you ask a consumer? Take a test drive. Take a test drive and feel how the new clean transport applications will move you in the future. And I think also when I talk for myself, and then probably you have the same actually, if you drive these cars, then it's really an impressive demonstration of what technology is able to do in the clean ambience. And you just wonder why we don't have and why we don't insist on more of it on the roads. And that's exactly the point. A few days ago, the European Parliament, our representatives in Brussels, voted down a proposal for carbon tax and energy tax on fuels with all the good reasons. It's extra tax, it's taxing everybody, it's taxing also the people who can't afford it. So nothing about the reasons for this voting down. But it's still the political situation. We all know that carbon tax is probably a very good incentive for people to move away from cleaner, to move to cleaner fuels and move away from dirtier solutions that we are still used to. But we need this political support and building of programs in the EU to move it the next step and to really make a big move ahead in the visibility of these vehicles on the roads. Because I'm sure that all of us would like to drive, in the end, something that only emits water, and not only at the tailpipe, but in the whole street.
I'll certainly never forget my first ride. True. That's all we have time for today. Thank you so much for joining us. Please join me in thanking Marieke, Reijalt. And if you want to speak further about these European initiatives, then please go and see Marieke Reijalt at stand E63. Thank you so much for being with us. Thanks. Very quickly now, Borit offers flexible industrial scale production for metallic flow plates with Dr. Joachim Krömer. Thank you.